in the meantime, Red Wings preseason, it has been happening. And there's been some exciting things happening. I'll just dive right into it. Moritz Seider still looks so good, right? Like, he legitimately looks so good. And the one thing I'm really happy that he's been able to show off is his skating. It's not new. We've seen him demonstrate how good his skating is, but now that he's playing high-intensity games against other pros who are legitimately trying to clean his clock, and they're fighting for their roster, they're fighting for their jobs, his skating looks so good. He's such a phenomenal skater for such a big man. Like, it's so fluid, it's so clean. His positioning hasn't been perfect, which, if it was, I'd be concerned, because he should have gone higher than where he did. He's also been playing with Trevor Daley. And so Trevor Daley, to put it lightly, had a bad year last year. And his positioning hasn't always been phenomenal. That's one of his biggest knocks, is for some reason his positioning has been a little bit wonky. And that's carried into the preseason. So Moritz Seider, who's trying to A, learn NHL positioning, and B, work with this defensive partner who's a veteran and knows the game, obviously, has just kind of been like around. Not out of sorts, but just around. But he's been able to recover every time by getting back into position, which has been really, really great.
Yes.
There have been games. We were chatting. It was me, you, Prashant, and Max were chatting, and I was like, Veleno looks a little bit invisible in the first half of this game. Not the Islanders game, the one prior.
The game in Chicago.
Yes, and I was like, he looks a little bit invisible. I was like, not like bad, but hasn't been doing as much like offensively. And Prashant was like, I've noticed that too. And I actually looked it up, and they were playing Veleno and Seider primarily against Taves, Kane, Keith, like their top guys. And I was like, oh, they're testing him. Because they've always known that Veleno's offensive game is great, but they really are testing his defensive game, which is what they wanted him to work on last year. So they're actually really strongly considering using Veleno as that 2-3C, I think.
And Joe Veleno followed that game in Chicago by continuing. Again, it was a strong performance relative to what he did, and at no point in this preseason thus far has he slowed down.
No.
It's fantastic, because he played against the Islanders as well, right?
Yes.
That was the game I missed, but everything I was reading was saying he was even better that game than he was against the Hawks. Now, mind you, that game, the Red Wings also had Mantha and Athanasiou and Bertuzzi in the lineup, so I'm assuming Veleno was playing a little more sheltered minutes that game, which probably helped him. But I mean, if Steve Eisman was being honest about, we're going to sign veterans to plug holes, but none of these veterans are going to prevent a young player from taking a spot if he's earned it, they're going to make Veleno earn it, and they're giving him.
Yeah.
You know what you have in Franz Nielsen and Valtteri Filppula. You don't know what you have in Joe Veleno yet, so you have to give him the opportunity to know what you have. Is he going to make the team still? Probably not. Because he's still registered 0 goals in these preseason, and they're going to need to see some offense from him in order for him to push his way onto the team, even if his defensive game is good.
Absolutely.
One guy who is absolutely earning a spot. He had an inside track to begin with for one of those final 2 forward spots, but I'm going to say after 3 games, it's probably his, and now there's 1 spot available, is Taro Hirose.
Oh, yes.
He has looked fantastic. He looks quicker. He's shooting the puck a bit more than he normally does. I think he's got a goal in the preseason so far, and his playmaking is still A+.
You guys remember when Taro Hirose came on the scene? Like, there was a lot of hype about him, and we obviously participated in it. And I was often coming out here saying, this is a small sample size. These are end-of-the-season games, not really high-intensity stuff to get a good look at what this guy will be. He's also already 24, because he played through his whole college career. And that's not a bad thing. Like, not every player is going to be, coming at 18 and just develop, and you get him in his prime all the time. It's just not the reality of how professional sports works. But I was saying to kind of measure and temper expectations, because that could have just been a good bout of play for him. I legitimately am a strong believer of having Taro Hirose right alongside every other good young player in a top 6 role. He's convinced me completely. If he slumps, what's he going to do? Be a fantastic offensive player on the third line? Like, he genuinely has been able to apply his hockey IQ to raise the game of those around him, which is so important, because you're talking about guys like Zadina and maybe even Veleno and other young players who are coming in, and they want to find success, but they can't, because Larkin is already being used to elevate the games of Mantha and Bertuzzi. And so Taro Hirose is coming in, and he's not only benefiting from playing with other good players, but he's elevating their game. He's genuinely done such a good job of solidifying him as a top 6 guy relative to what Detroit has. I think he's been fantastic.
So if you talk to most people around the Red Wings organization, the top line is set. Even Blashill has gone so far as to say that, which is the most un-Blashill thing ever. But so we know Mantha, Larkin, Bertuzzi. Second line was going to be Athanasiou and likely one of Nielsen and Filppula. And then that other wing spot is wide open. Everything we've seen in the preseason, that spot is Taro Hirose's until someone proves otherwise.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. We're still high on Philip Zadina. We're still high on Joe Veleno. We're still high on all these prospects. Adam Ernie's looked fantastic.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about Adam Ernie.
This is Taro Hirose's spot until something else happens.
Absolutely. Adam Ernie, I think he had that behind the back pass. It was behind the back pass to Filip Hronek, who stepped in from the point, which is another thing we're going to get to. That was a phenomenal pass. And sure, it might have just been like a try, like you never know. Because when a guy doesn't look, if it works, amazing. And if it doesn't, you're just like, what the hell were you doing? But it was a fantastic pass from right beside the net on the red line, behind the back, through like 5 players to Filip Hronek, who very intelligently stepped in from the point to convert the power play goal. The first thing I thought was Adam Ernie talking when he was traded to Detroit, saying, I'm looking forward to playing in Detroit because I have a chance to have an expanded offensive role. I know I'm a good defensive player. I've proven that. He's worth the price that Detroit paid for him just for defense alone. But he's like, I have more in my game, and I just need the minutes. Man, it's one moment, it's one play, it's one preseason, but it does inspire hope that Adam Ernie could actually be a very real contributor to Detroit. I'm not talking a top-line guy, but if you have Adam Ernie on your third line, producing both ways, Adam Ernie could be doing what the team was expecting from Abdelkader, right?
Yeah, and even a play like that, it's not necessarily that he pulled it off that makes me happy and impressed. It's just that he tried it. Because in all reality, as good as he's looked, he's still probably a bottom 6 forward.
Yeah.
But out of all the other bottom 6 forwards on the Red Wings, who would even think to try anything creative offensively? We know what we're getting in Helm, Abdelkader, Glendening, which is just a straight up chip and chase game, get the puck to the net, maybe bang in a rebound. And hell, every once in a while, it works. Not often, that's why they're in the bottom 6, but a guy like Glendening will bang in a few rebounds a year, and that's fine. But he's never going to make that pass. He's not going to make those players aren't going to make the players around them better in the offensive zone.
Yeah.
So just the sign that Ernie's willing to try, and the fact that he's already pulled a complicated move off successfully once is refreshing, because those are low percentage plays, and any hockey player who's played a decent level will tell you. You don't make those plays fully blind. It's low percentage, it might not work, but you're aware of the players you have in the area. So you make that pass and you hope that it goes. It's not all luck. It's some luck, but it's some recognition.
You do have to have it's not just blindly seeing, Datsuk or Zetterberg doing it on the power play, and then you're like, oh, I can do this too. Applicator. It's actually, analyzing the situation, seeing, all right, I have no other options, and this is like a home run swing. You go for it. This is the preseason. It's a low risk scenario. Yeah, to be able to 1, recognize that opportunity, and 2, have the guts to do it, and 3, execute it, of course. That was just exciting to see. Not a world breaker. He's not going to score 100 points, but it's that's an Yzerman move, and you're like, okay, we might have just picked up a really good third liner for a throwaway draft pick. That's nice to see. Filip Hronek has, I think, continued his strong play that we saw last year. It wasn't anything completely magical. A defenseman on the point should be stepping in how he did, but watching him convert that goal and stepped right in, fired it right in, and the celebration to point to Ernie right away for that pass, that confidence and that ability to do it. I just have such strong confidence in Hronek really stepping up this year and grasping that number 1 defensive spot on the Red Wings.
Like I said about Taro Hirose, that second line wing spot is his until someone else says otherwise. I might go so far as to say Filip Hronek is the best defenseman on this team right now until someone says otherwise.
Yeah, until Moritz Seider, makes the team.
And even that's a long shot. Like, I think if Moritz Seider becomes Filip Hronek, or what it looks like Filip Hronek is going to be, that's probably a good developmental curve for Moritz Seider.
Again, no, none of these guys are Dalines or, Doughties or any of these other superstars in their prime. But if we end up with the top line of a Hronek who developed really well and a Moritz Seider who developed really well, that's pretty passable. That's not a bad place to start.
Detroit's going to be turning into Carolina, where the right defense is the strength.
Carolina somehow keeps just adding good defense. I don't understand how they keep adding good defensemen. Do you see that they were...
I said, for one thing we never talked about after the Jake Gardiner contract, I kind of want to revisit, because a lot of our listeners kept asking us, would you sign Gardiner? Would you sign Gardiner? And we kept saying, no. I'd have signed Gardiner for that.
Oh, yeah, I 100% would have signed Gardiner.
I'd have signed Gardiner for that contract.
I tweeted out, it was like Gardiner signed for, 4 years at 4.05?
Yep.
We were projecting he would want 7 years or 8 in Toronto for at least $7 million. Right?
Yeah, $6 million would have been his baseline. So yeah, we would have wasted 2 of Gardner's years as the Red Wings get good, but those back 2 years will still be pretty good and affordable.
4 years at $4 million, yeah, you add Jake Gardiner. Jake Gardiner is a very good defenseman. He made Toronto better. He had some very memorable gaffes, like made mistakes at the worst time.
As long as Detroit never plays in a Game 7, they'd be fine.
And you know what? It's not a problem. Not a problem right now. No, that was a phenomenal deal, and I want to apologize to everyone, because we spoke in these certainties that we really have to stop doing, which is that, Gardner's going to need money in term, and he took half of both. But that was a shock. I saw that. I was like, are you kidding me? That's what he went for. Now, the obvious tenet to all of this is Jake Gardiner is not going to sign for that amount of money in term in Detroit. He signed for that money in term in Carolina because he wants to win. And that's just the reality of the situation.
Man, there's a statement involving Carolina.
Yeah. Imagine that in 2013. Actually, I don't know how good Carolina was in 2013.
Their playoff drought was pretty long.
Yeah.